Warning, the following program was produced for traditional broadcast television. Over 12 minutes of commercials have been removed, but interruptions are still included. Thank you for watching.
What happens when Bitcoin wins this war? What happens when Bitcoin is the standard that we measure everything to?
I truly believe that there's going to be before Bitcoin and after Bitcoin, AB. This fourth book is solely focused on life after Bitcoin. And so I see a world where hopefully we enter this abundance. I think that's a really important thing to think about is deflation is going to be a good thing for us, and AI and Bitcoin are gonna bring us there. And AI obviously is very good at looking at all the different options, and they're already zeroing in on Bitcoin is the one.
Government officials insist we will continue to keep you informed as this story unfolds.
Welcome to the Money Block with Matthew J. Moore, the Bitcoin-focused program that's waking the masses to the fiat money Ponzi scheme. Money is changing, and your freedom is at stake. So stick around and learn how to empower yourself for this new digital age. Now, here's your host, Matthew J. Moore.
And welcome, America. Welcome, world. Man, you are here at the right time, right place. That's right, we are syndicated coast to coast on Biz TV. Yes, regular television. Who would have thought? But we're also streaming online, and we're on the radio, too. So if you're new to Bitcoin, maybe you're an expert, maybe you just love this space, this is the perfect show for you, because we come here every single week, and we talk about topics that matter, things that are going to tickle your brain. And today's guest I'm excited to bring on, because he's been writing a book that's talking about life after Bitcoin. What does that actually mean? What does that look like? I mean, when Bitcoin becomes the money that we use, the standard that the world measures itself on, does that change how we do life? Well, stick around, because we're going to find out. In fact, today I'm going to bring him on, and we're going to get this started. Jesse, his name is Jesse Tevelow, and he has, like I said, been writing this book. He's an entrepreneur, and he has been involved in the Bitcoin space for, longer than I have, and I entered in 2017. So Jesse, let's start off here. Just give some context for our listeners. Share with us who you are and why you're writing this book. What's this book all about?
Well, first off, thanks, Matt, for having me. Very, very excited to be here today. You might sense a little bit of raspiness in my voice. I'm working on the end of a cold here, so bear with me today. But really appreciate everybody coming and tuning in here to the show, and excited to talk to you today, Matt, about all things Bitcoin. And yes, I am writing a book. It's actually not my first book. It's my fourth. And so I've written 3 bestsellers on a range of topics. And this fourth book is solely focused on Bitcoin. And the title of the book, as you mentioned, is Life After Bitcoin. And it's actually, I'm glad you started with the title, because it's actually a double, triple, quadruple meaning type of title. There's a lot of different ways you can look at the title. And so I like to frame it, and this is actually, I actually talk about this in the book about what the title means. And so I'll just start there. For the uninformed, someone who may not know too much about Bitcoin, the title sounds like life after Bitcoin. There might be something after. There might be something after Bitcoin. Bitcoin might die. And you and I know that Bitcoin never dies. Bitcoin, there is nothing, it will never end. It's infinite. And so that's, for the reader to find out. If you're a little bit more informed, let's say you're sort of, you've been in the game for a little while, you might take the title Life After Bitcoin to mean a moment in time, meaning on the timeline of humanity. And if the cover of my book, the design, it's got, BC, AD, AB, and so it's like, the structure of sort of how we measure time, how we think about history. And I truly believe that there's going to be before Bitcoin and after Bitcoin, AB. And so 2009, January 3rd, so the Genesis block, I believe that's a moment in time that's going to be a historic moment for our species, for all of humanity. Now, if you are enlightened, if you are actually all the way, what I say, enlightened, a Bitcoin you've kind of been through it all, as I like to think that I've been through. I haven't been through it all. You never stop learning about Bitcoin. But
we have to go to break, and I want you to spill the beans. I want you to share it with everybody, because it will be very thought-provoking. All right, guys. Well, this is the Money Block. We got to go to break, but we'll be right back. So stay tuned. We'll be there after this break. What does it mean to be physically, spiritually, and financially free? The right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, these were the ideas that made America. But what happens to these ideas when America's money becomes compromised? What do you do when the very thing that you're working for day after day is fundamentally designed to enslave you? Whether it was a conspiracy or not, you won't believe what is about to happen in this country. Arm yourself today with the truth and build your life on the foundations for liberty. Rediscover freedom in the 21st century and grab a copy of my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. For just $11.99, you can support this radio show by finding a copy on Amazon or by going to mattjmoore.com. Again, that's mattjmoore.com. Don't wait, because freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is round two, segment 2 of the Money Block. And yes, we are syndicated coast to coast on Biz TV. We're here, TV, radio, we're all over the place. So thanks for tuning in, all you Bitcoin newbies, lovers, and experts. And man, today has been it's going to be a fun conversation because we just got this train going. And, a lot of us have these questions, especially those who've been in Bitcoin for a very long time, which is, what happens when Bitcoin wins this war? And I mean monetary war. What happens when Bitcoin is the standard that we measure everything to? And I think it really brings some thought-provoking ideas. I think our guest today, he's going to bring light to some of this. He's the perfect guest to ask. He's been writing a book called Life After Bitcoin. But before I bring him back to the stage, I just want to let you guys know that yes, if you are watching online and you're streaming this on YouTube or wherever, be sure to give us a comment, a like, a subscribe, share with our guests your thoughts, like your personal thoughts. What are your ideas? How do you receive what he's going to be talking about today? Because I think he'd be fascinated to know. I'm fascinated to know. So I'm going to definitely be sure to ask him the right questions today. But also, if you are new to this idea of Bitcoin, freedom, monetary sovereignty, as a thank you gift, I'm going to share this QR code. Just take out your phone, scan that QR code. It'll be right over there. And it's a free gift. It's a digital download of my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. And it'll help give guidelines, ideas, principles around this idea of what freedom looks like, not just monetarily, but spiritually and, traditionally with our relation to the government. So be sure to get that and digest that, because that'll help you, especially with today's conversations. But all right, let's go ahead and put this train back on the tracks and bring back our guest, Jesse Tevelow. He is an author, founder of the company called Launch Team. And like I said, he's been writing a book called Life After Bitcoin. And Jesse, before we went to break, we were doing a little bit of an introductory about your book. Can you go into a little bit more depth and finish your thought process on this revelation and why you're writing this book and the perspective that people are going to have, whether they're in Bitcoin or yet to be in Bitcoin?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, let me just kind of wrap up what we were just saying before break there, which was the understanding what the title actually means. And I was just about to get into sort of the most important element, which sounds like really aligns with your book. And by the way, it's great to share this, space with another author. And, for me, life after Bitcoin is a spiritual thing. And that's what you just used the word spiritual there a moment ago. So I look at Bitcoin as a personal journey. And for me, that's the highest level of enlightenment, when you start to look inward and you realize how Bitcoin affects you spiritually and personally. So I believe it's a very spiritual journey and a very personal journey. But at the same time, it affects everything around us. It affects all the macro and microeconomics and sort of all the different elements that are happening in the world right now. So, the book covers a lot, but I'm happy to kind of take it kind of whatever direction you want to go in. But that kind of wraps up sort of the title and what I'm trying to get across to the reader. Well,
yeah, I mean, a lot of us who've been in Bitcoin, we hang our hat on this idea of fix the money, fix the world, and we do have this idea. Some people call it Bitcoin philosophy. Some people call it, just maybe people see us as cultish, but I don't see it that way. I mean, but it just depends. Because I think the great thing that Bitcoin has done has caused people to ask the question, not only what is money, but how does it relate to every other part of my life? And so that is the beautiful awakening that Bitcoin has caused. And that leads me into my question here. What caused you to have this revelation or idea to be like, you know what, I need to write a book about this topic? Was there some point in your Bitcoin journey, involvement or investing that you're like, wait a minute, there's way more here?
Sure. Great question. So I actually call this my 10-year awakening, and it's the story of me sort of coming full circle all the way around to back to Bitcoin, because I sort of started at Bitcoin around 2014, 2015, quite early. You know, I was there before Ethereum came out, and I remember I was messing around with Bitcoin. This was when I had my marketing agency, Launch Team, that you mentioned, and I work with various companies, excuse me, to bring folks to market. So I work with startups and been working with them for many, many years. And back in 2014, 2015, I started hearing about more blockchain-focused companies. And so I started working with those companies, bringing those companies to market. I've done pretty much everything you can think of, everything under the sun, in terms of blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, DLT. So I veered outside of the realm of Bitcoin. And, as soon as Ethereum came out, for those of you maybe who aren't as familiar, Ethereum was sort of the second big wave of really crypto. It really introduced crypto. There was like Bitcoin, and then crypto basically was born with Ethereum, because on Ethereum, basically their platform allows anybody to create a coin. And that's what gave us all these, what we call altcoins, right? A lot of people call them altcoins. Some people call them, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse
poop
on
coins.
this show.
Yeah.
Coins, the term. And that's sort of like a tongue-in-cheek thing. But, it's because it's such a wild, wild west kind of an atmosphere. And I was in that wild west. I was back in, 2016. I was in Silicon Beach. I'm here in Los Angeles. And so I was in these rooms where there were deals getting done, there were millions of dollars being, people were making millions, losing millions in the snap of the finger. It was completely unregulated. It was out of control, and it was exciting, But there was also there were a lot of people with good intentions. I like to think I'm one of the people that had good intentions, and then there's people that were doing really, bad stuff and just really stealing people's money, and so I experimented because I'm an entrepreneur. That's what I do. I came from a gaming background. I had a game company, so I was very familiar with crypto in terms of like currency, digital currencies. All the games that I had silver and gold and digital currencies. So as soon as crypto came out, I was like, okay, cool, I get it. I see this. And so I pretty much experimented with everything. I launched my own token. I've done NFTs because I come from the gaming world. There was a lot of gaming elements when, the Bored Apes and all those. If folks listening remember that. And so I did all of it, okay? as a consultant working with other companies, but also my own products, building my own products. So I have a unique perspective, seeing it from under the hood, and also seeing it as a consumer or spectator. So what I realized, after about 10 years, I was just going through the industry. I was part of the ICO craze. I was helping people raise money during that period. And as the years kept rolling by, you'd see government regulators coming in. There's a lot of confusion. And I think it was really about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago in 2024, when I had my token. I'd launched a token, and I launched on the Solana blockchain. And this is my perspective, okay? So this is just my opinion, but I describe it as launching a product to a bunch of drunk monkeys and bots. So it's like robots and monkeys, and like you're trying to, you're trying to convince them, that you've got this product. And as an entrepreneur, it's just impossible. It's impossible to build. Everybody wants to get a quick hit. They want to get rich overnight, and that's just not how it works. If anyone listening, if you've ever built anything, you know that it's very difficult. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources. So it was kind of at that point that I said, okay, I need to sort of stop that path. I need to stop exploring over there, and I need to return back to center. And what is the center? It's Bitcoin. It was always Bitcoin. And like the longer you've been in it, the kind of more clear it becomes that Bitcoin is actually something different. It's actually the base layer of, as you mentioned, money. It is digital money. It's internet money. I like to call it energy money because it's capturing energy and then storing that energy as value, which is the most real kind of money that we've ever had in human history.
Yeah.
And, from that point, once you get there, then like many other Bitcoiners, I jumped into all of the what is money, looking at the US dollar, looking at fiat. What does fiat mean? What is the government doing? How are they able to print money? I read, Larry Lepard's the big print that I have sitting right here next to me. I'm good friends with Larry now. And it's just, you start to put all these pieces together. And I know your book covers some of these elements of the geopolitical aspects and sort of history. And so you start to realize like Bitcoin actually encompasses sort of every aspect of human history, human life, whether it's history, whether it's philosophy, whether it's technology. It touches everything. And that's when I got really excited. And I'm like, okay, I got to write a book. This is going to be my fourth book because I'd already written 3, and I'll tell you, like, it actually kind of connects back to my first book because my first book's called The Connection Algorithm, and in that book, it was like 2015. I was a lot younger, obviously, back then, and I could tell something was wrong with the world, and I was writing about what I called zombie land, where people are kind of stuck in zombie land, watching TV, watching commercials, and it felt wrong. But now, right, with everything coming out, the Epstein files, all the truth starting to bubble up, and now it's like I can connect all the dots backwards. So it's been a wonderful journey, and the book really kind of encompasses sort of these elements that I'm talking about, my story, kind of how I got here, and then how Bitcoin really touches every aspect of human life.
It does, and you've laid the groundwork beautifully because when we got to go to break here in a few minutes or a few seconds, but I'll tell you what, I think people are going to be fascinated to figure out how AI, Bitcoin, true capitalism is going to change the world, and how does all this fit together, and what does this life look like? So when we come back from break, we're going to touch on this, and we're going to unpack life after Bitcoin. So you guys stay put. This is the Money Block. We'll be right back after this break. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is round 3, segment 3 of the Money Block. Yes, that's right. This is America's Bitcoin-focused TV and radio show. We're all over the place. In fact, we're even online, even that pesky YouTube everybody loves to use. Trust me, I love YouTube. But hey, guess what? If you're new and you are tuning in online, I want you to be sure to comment, like, subscribe, be a part of the conversation, maybe share it with a friend, and let us know what you think about today's conversation. And man, today's conversation has been fun. We're just now getting into the nuts and bolts of it, but have you ever thought about what life is going to look like when Bitcoin is the money that we use as whether a world reserve asset, world reserve currency, however you want to look at it? Bitcoin is changing things and has changed things. So if we fast forward, how much more are things going to change? And so before I bring our guest on, though, I just want to let you know that it's okay to not understand completely all the concepts that we're talking about. In fact, if you don't, be sure to scan this QR code that you see right here on the screen. It is a digital copy of my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. It's my way of saying thank you for tuning in, and it'll give you the ideas, principles that will help guide you as we move and transition into this possibly new hyper-Bitcoinization world. And it's going to give you the ideas for what does it mean to be free monetarily, spiritually, and just with our interactions with our day-to-day government. So, but on the line, we have our guest. His name is Jesse, and he has been writing a book called Life After Bitcoin. I've kind of teased it a little bit, but he's an author, founder of a company called Launch Team. But Jesse, before we went to break, we really started to get things going. We set the groundwork, but let's talk about this. One thing that you really hit on a lot is this idea, this marriage between Bitcoin and AI. We all know that these are two technologies that are going to change the world and are changing the world right now. But the marriage of them could be exponentially greater as far as the impact and changes that we see. We obviously been talking about deflation playing a part in some of this, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. What happens here with the incentive structures, how the world works, in your opinion, when artificial intelligence meets and marries with Bitcoin?
Yes, so this is a perfect layup for me because this is really the thesis of my book. And so, when I was writing the book, I'm trying to sort of theorize what could happen, and I'm not going to sit here and say I know exactly how it's all going to pan out. However, I feel that I've been tracking trends for almost my whole career. My company launch team, we build things and launch things, so I'm kind of always on that cutting edge of the trend line of what's happening. And you're already starting to see this, actually. If anybody's been paying attention to the OpenClaw situation, and I think Sam Altman just announced. I don't know when this is going to drop, but it's been recent news that Sam Altman just acquired OpenClaw, and OpenClaw is the company that built these autonomous agents, this agentic AI, and that basically just means AI that can talk to each other, so no human interaction. I know it's hard for a lot of people to visualize this, but we're basically there, okay? It's happening way faster than anybody's kind of comfortable with, but it's here, and it's not going to slow down. And so it's basically the idea that these robots, this AI can kind of talk to each other, and you can imagine a world where, you and me, Matt, we don't even have to worry about these agents, these AIs. They could be working for us. They could be basically like employees for us, and they could be out there doing things, buying things for us, setting things up. And believe me, guys, this is already happening. No lie, this is already happening. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are already setting this stuff up.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but as far as the AIs and those bots going, it seems to be that there maybe is a trend that they're identifying that Bitcoin is the money of choice.
That's where I was just about to go.
Okay.
You're perfect, man. You're leading me right where I want to go. And so, yes, that is correct. The AI is actually autonomously now deciding, and there's a lot of chatter about this, where the AI is saying, yeah, we think we should be using Bitcoin. And it's perfectly aligned with my thesis. And that's because Bitcoin is the only real measurement of money. It's the only true measurement that we've actually had in human history. If the more you study money, the more you realize that money always gets debased. There's always ways for people to print more money, to shave little clippings off the coins, to try to dilute it. The people who are in power, the people who are closest to the money, always figure out a way to basically get more of it, hoard more of it, keep it away from everybody else. It's not fair. So here comes Bitcoin, right? We have this immutable ledger. It's open source code. Everybody can look at it. The code's audited on average every 10 minutes. You don't need to understand the tech really to realize what that means. It just means that we have a ledger we can look at. We can look at the receipts. We can look at where the money's going, and the money never changes, meaning the supply. There's 21 million tokens of Bitcoin. We can chop them up. We can divide them out, and everybody can have enough. So there's always going to be enough. Okay, I want people to understand that. But it never changes. The total amount, that is the key. Okay, and we call that a fixed supply. And Satoshi figured out a way to bookend that, to make sure no one can mess with that number, that 21 million. And so the AI is going to look at it, and AI obviously is very good at looking at all the different options, right? The AI doesn't get tired. The AI can look at an infinite number of outcomes, and they're already zeroing in on Bitcoin is the one, and that's my belief, and I'm very, very confident that that's kind of how this is going to go. I think we have to be very intentional about it, okay? So the humans, we can't just sit here and go, okay, we're done, our job's done, everything's going to be fine. We have to actually make sure that all the robots are going to be using Bitcoin. But, I can guarantee you that, these AI that can move really at lightning speed, right? They never get tired. They never have to go to the bathroom. They don't have to eat, right? They're not going to be using shiny, heavy rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, what I mean by that is gold, right? They're not going to be using gold. They're not going to be using little paper. It's basically toilet paper. We can create as much of it as we want. They need something that is reliable, something that's not going to change, and something that can move at that speed of AI. And so I look at AI as the engine, the productivity engine, and I look at Bitcoin as, I call it the rails, meaning the rule set. I also describe it as a sandbox, right? It's like a sandbox. Like the AI can play in the sandbox. They can build whatever they want with the sand. They can build sand castles, but they got to stay inside the box. They got to use the sand. They got to use Bitcoin. So it's kind of this parameter rule set. And I'll just touch on what you were saying about deflation, because I very much agree with you on this. This is a lot of folks. I highly recommend you follow Jeff Booth. So Jeff Booth is one of the leaders in this area of discussion. He talks about deflation a lot. I also agree with him. deflation is a scary word for people, and that's wrong. It's not a scary word. It's a good thing. We've been kind of confused about what inflation means and what deflation means. Deflation basically means prices go down. It's a good thing, right? Yeah. We want deflation. Like, everyone hears the word. I just want to make sure it's very clear to people listening on your show. It's a good thing, okay? And so what it means is the robots, the AI, they're going to be able to produce things way faster than us, okay? So think houses getting built at lightning speed. Think about agriculture, them being able to harvest all the food and produce more food. So theoretically, we should have a world of abundance. And when you have a world of abundance, that means the costs actually go down, right? Because there's high production costs, it's very efficient, and so eventually things get really, really, really cheap. And so I see a world where hopefully we enter this abundance, and I know we got to wrap up this little part, but I think that's a really important thing to think about, is deflation is going to be a good thing for us, and AI and Bitcoin are gonna bring us there.
Yeah, because there's no way we're going to be able to compete with AI in many ways as humans. So scarcity will play a part in that. And like I said, I don't think deflationary is necessarily a bad thing. But when we come back from break, we'll maybe unpack this idea a little bit further. So guys, stay tuned, stay put, because you're not going to want to miss what Jesse has to say on our next segment. We'll see you guys after this break. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back in action on the Money Block. We want to welcome you back to the show. In fact, yeah, if you didn't know, we're all over the place in regular TV, radio, syndicated coast to coast on Biz TV. And man, do we bring you a great, empowering conversation every single time. Today, we've been talking about this idea of what does life look like when Bitcoin wins this monetary war? What happens when Bitcoin is the standard that we measure everything in and against? And so it would almost be considered a type of hyper-Bitcoinization, a term that's often used in the Bitcoin space. But today's guest has been writing a book about what this life might look like. And before we went to break, we were talking about AI, and we were talking about its marriage with Bitcoin, the efficiencies that are going to happen. But before I bring him back to go even further down with this topic, I just want to let you and remind you guys that I'm giving away a free gift. It is a digital download of my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty, and you can scan it by taking out your phone and scanning that QR code. Like I said, it's my way of saying thank you, and it'll give you the ideas, principles that'll help you down this road, this journey that I call understanding not just money, but monetary sovereignty, freedom, how it relates to your spiritual life, and even just your natural waking everyday life. But let's go ahead and bring this back to full speed. I'm going to bring Jesse, our guest, back on. And like I said, Jesse's been writing a book, and this book is Life After Bitcoin, a topic that I think is very fascinating. And so, Jesse, when we went to break, we were kind of hitting on this idea that AI is going to be a heck of a lot better at a lot of different things than us humans. It's going to be able to do it faster, better in many ways. And, it's like if we can't compete against AI, our life may become easier to some extent. It'll free us up to do different things. But it's like if AI needs a form of money to use as well, it seems scarcity is going to play a pivotal role in what is valued in this future economy. And maybe us humans and AI agents are going to be gobbling up Bitcoin, and it'll be like a race to see who can get the most Bitcoin, because to some extent, if we can't compete with AI, the only way that we can maintain an edge is having some form of scarcity, digital scarcity, that the AI agents and AI systems will value. So what is your thought on that perspective? Am I way off here?
No, this is just a fascinating topic, and it's really fun to talk about. And nobody really knows, again, how it's all gonna pan out. But in my view, I see Bitcoin proliferating and just becoming more and more popular for everything, as a store of value, so people will hold it for their savings. But I also subscribe to the belief that it's going to be a means of exchange. So that means people are going to be buying and selling, right? Both buying and selling in Bitcoin, and that creates a circular economy. So I think a lot of people get worried thinking there's this fixed supply. how am I going to get any of this Bitcoin if the robots take it and everybody else already has it? And that's actually not the future that I see, because if you enter a world where everybody's actually spending, right, in this currency as well, then it's just moving around, just like every other currency, right? Just like the US dollar. I buy some stuff, I get some, that person gets some dollars, that guy uses the dollars, and it just moves around, right? So I think you're going to see, a future where, and this is already happening, by the way, in countries like El Salvador, where they have, the U.S. dollar is actually a currency that's accepted as a national currency in El Salvador, but they also use Bitcoin. So you have people that are doing it right now where they're just like buying and selling stuff in Bitcoin. They're also using the dollar a little bit. But I think just like how Chrome, you can take like an internet browser, for example, Chrome took over Internet Explorer, just took more and more and more market share. It used to be, it was Internet Explorer, and then Chrome came along and kind of just ate everything, right?
Sure did.
That's kind of what I see Bitcoin doing. It's just going to start to eat. And so you're going to get fewer and fewer people using US dollars, fewer and fewer people using other currencies. And just over time, it's going to be probably, I imagine it's going to be 70, 80, maybe even 90% of the value that's moving around the world is going to be in Bitcoin. And so, that means the value of Bitcoin is going to continue to go up as well,
Right.
which a lot of people are kind of wondering how that works. Well, it's just the value of it. Right now, I think a Bitcoin is worth about $70,000 as we're recording this. People, I think, know that the chart moves like this. It goes up and down. It's pretty volatile. But as we grow, as it becomes more abundantly used, that number is going to go up. It's going to be more secure for people to use it in their day-to-day lives. So that's kind of how I see it going. I think it also applies to governments, meaning, right now you don't have a separation of money and state, right?
Right.
The government controls the money. And I think that's going to separate. I think Bitcoin is going to separate that out. And I see a world of choice, right? The world of the future is one of choice. And I find that very exciting, meaning you can choose, like, do you want to use your government issued currency that they're going to be tracking you? They know exactly what you're spending. You know that they can debase the money. They can print more of it. It's not very reliable. It's decaying. It can stop you. They can freeze your bank. Or do you want to choose freedom money, right? It's your own money. It's your own node. Like, you can run your own node. You can have your own stash of it. You can hold it in cold storage and nobody can take it from you. So it's just better. And so I see the market share continuing to move to Bitcoin.
Well, and, with 5 minutes left in this segment, I do want to tackle this one idea here, which is a lot of us who have been in Bitcoin for some time. I've been in it since 2017. You've been in it longer. And you've seen the Bitcoin culture kind of evolve a little bit across the decade. And, there's core ethos of Bitcoin that's always been there, like the whole idea of decentralization, peer-to-peer money, protecting yourself from debasement, kind of going against the grain in a lot of ways. And it seems that with the institutions, the ETFs, the governments all getting involved, I mean, it's inevitable that will happen if we're going to go into a hyper-Bitcoinization world. But it seems that once we get to the place where Bitcoin becomes the money we use, and even artificial intelligence using it, people are going to kind of see it like, oh, it's, like how we look at dollars today. We're like, yeah, it's just the money we use. I don't really think about it. Why do we, it's like we don't have a dollar conference. We don't have a bunch of dollar memes. But, will that Bitcoin culture dismantle a little bit and go away as Bitcoin just becomes the norm? And yes, it's going to play a pivotal and important part, but it just seems that I've seen an evolution in the culture of Bitcoin, the spirit and the ethos of the culture change a little bit. I'm still hopeful about the promises that Bitcoin has at hand here that will bring to the table for us. What's your take on this evolution as Bitcoin just becomes the money we use?
Yeah, interesting. Great question. I don't know the answer. I'll say, Bitcoin was born, in 2009, and it was born with this kind of culture to it. It was a counterculture. It was, the cypherpunks. It was a little bit of a rebellion. There's a line in the code that Satoshi put in the code about, the banks being on the brink of their second bailout, and this was kind of like a jab at the old system saying, okay, well, these banks are like invincible. They're just going to get bailed out. It's a power structure and it's not fair. And here comes Bitcoin, this sort of freedom money. So freedom, right, is a huge sort of undertone that sort of is this foundation underneath. I call it like the foundation underneath the protocol, right? Is freedom. So I hope that sticks. I hope that, and I think you'll always have your hardcore Bitcoin people. Like in 20 years from now, we're just going to be seen as historians, right? We're going to be talking about history. We're going to be history people, and everyone else is just going to be using it. And they're like, I don't care. I don't care what the story is. I don't care where it came from. I just use Bitcoin to go buy my food, and it'll be interesting. I will say this, I'm writing my book because I think it's a once-in-a-species moment. This is a once-in-a-species type of event, opportunity. It's a change of culture. It's a change of humanity. Like money is pretty much the base layer of modern civilization, right? In order for us to become modernized, we needed some way to carry value over space and time. And, we tried lots of things. We tried stones and pebbles, and, there was a big tulip mania thing, and there was, and then now here comes fiat. We have gold that's been used for thousands of years. But nothing really worked because it could be diluted, it could be debased, right? We had all this, sort of bad actors that could do things behind the scenes. And Bitcoin is it's the answer, man. It's the solution. So I think looking back, you'll have people that stay like we're going to be, the guys, we're going to be the old guys like in the rocking chair telling our kids about, what it was like, and they're going to laugh at us. But this is a really interesting moment in human history. So I think the culture will always be there, but it's always going to evolve. Obviously, you have Wall Street, and you have the big banks, and you have everyone now. The financial sector is paying attention. That's just game theory, and so a lot of people get bothered by that. Like a lot of hardcore Bitcoiners don't like it, but it's just game theory. It's incentive structure. It's the growth that's got to happen. It's inevitable. If we really truly want Bitcoin to be the store of value, a reserve currency, a means of exchange, everybody's going to use it, including all the financial folks. So
that's right. And my prayer is, as we enter into this hyper Bitcoinization world, and the world that many of us have been fighting for a while, is that the ethos, the culture, the mentality bleeds into the masses, and it infects everything. And like it's already doing, it's awakening us to this question of what is money. And so I already think Bitcoin is one on that front. But all right, guys, we got to go to break. So I hate to cut it short, but when we come back, we're going to talk more with Jesse. So stay put. AI is here, money is changing, but freedom has never been more important. I'm Matthew J. Moore, the Money Block host on Biz TV, Amazon bestseller, and Bitcoin policy advisor. Book my up to 60-minute talk, Redefining Wealth and Freedom God's Way. I'll teach your church, business, or civic group how to secure money, freedom, and faith in the digital age. This is urgent, so I'm slashing my fee from $1,000 to $500. Cover my travel, and I'm there. Scan the QR code now. Spots are filling fast. What does it mean to be physically, spiritually, and financially free? The right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, these were the ideas that made America. But what happens to these ideas when America's money becomes compromised? What do you do when the very thing that you're working for day after day is fundamentally designed to enslave you? Whether it was a conspiracy or not, you won't believe what is about to happen in this country. Arm yourself today with the truth and build your life on the foundations for liberty. Rediscover freedom in the 21st century and grab a copy of my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. For just $11.99, you can support this radio show by finding a copy on Amazon or by going to mattjmoore.com. Again, that's mattjmoore.com. Don't wait, because freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Money Block. This is our final segment of the show. So thanks for sticking around, being a part of the conversation. In fact, even though we're on TV and radio, coast to coast on Biz TV, if you are watching online, if you're on YouTube or other platforms, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, be a part of the conversation. Let us know what you think about today's topic. In fact, today's topic has been a fun one because it's about imagining this life, this future, about what the world could be like if Bitcoin is the standard that we use when it comes to money and just generally measuring wealth and time. I think ultimately money is time. It's a representation of our life, our life force. And so I think it's beautiful when we have these topics about hard money, sound money, what it could do to the future. Our guest today, Jesse, he has been writing a book called Life After Bitcoin. And before we went to break, we were kind of unpacking that a little bit. And I just want to kind of go into this last few questions with him about this future, because a lot of us might be thinking, what do we do next? Like, if I'm not a part of this Bitcoin train, I want to get on that Bitcoin train. What can I do? And, Jesse, you may have the answer for us. So what's your take on the next steps when it comes to this end result?
Sure. So let me answer that question by sort of taking a step back first, and then I'll come back around to it if that's okay. I'd like to talk to people about a concept called time preference. And this is something that's a term that many people don't know. I didn't know it until I kind of got into the Bitcoin space. I said, what is that? And there's high time preference and there's low time preference. High time preference means you kind of want something to happen now, right? It's like going to Vegas, right, and playing the machines and just trying to win big, right? You're just trying to get that immediate dopamine hit. Low time preference means you're thinking more long term, and it means you're able to kind of like not worry about what happens today, tomorrow, next week, but you're thinking much broader. And the fiat world, the US dollar, the way the world is today, it has forced most of us, most people, if you're listening to this and you're in the United States, or even if you're in another country, most people are living paycheck to paycheck, and they're struggling. And why is that? Well, it's because we have decaying money. The money that you have, the money that you earn, is worth less and less every single day. And that's just the nature of the debt-based system that we talked about, the fact that they can continue to print more dollars. And I think most people are starting to finally feel that. It was kind of hidden in the past, and now it's really starting to come to the forefront of people's minds. And Bitcoin is that solution that's going to allow you to actually save. It's going to actually save your value over time and space. And so what that means is you can do some work today, and it doesn't matter what that work is. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. I don't even care if you're selling flowers on the street. We got to get by. Everyone's trying to figure this out. The problem is when you get the money for that, it doesn't hold. And so I encourage everybody to start earning money in whatever, if you're making money in dollars, that's great, get your dollars, but then convert those dollars into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the only thing that's going to maintain that life force. I like the word that you use there, life force. It's going to take that energy and it's going to hold it over time and space. And so I talk about this in the book, and I talk about the golden age. I call it the golden age, the second renaissance. I believe that everybody who's willing to come on this journey, to get on this bandwagon, to get some Bitcoin, to hold the Bitcoin, I think you're going to find yourself in this new reality. I don't know how long it's going to take, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, but you have to have low time preference. You have to think long term, right? Small steps, big vision. That's what I say to people. You got to have small steps and a big vision, okay? And Bitcoin allows you to realize that big vision. So I really encourage people to, it's not hard to figure it out, Google it or get on your favorite AI tool, whether it's ChatGPT or something else or whatever. Claude's really popular these days, but just ask it, how do I get some Bitcoin? And there's lots of ways these days. Cash App just announced that they're doing a lot. Jack Dorsey's starting to make it really easy for people to onboard. So it's getting a lot easier to kind of take your dollars and convert them into Bitcoin. And I would highly encourage people to learn about this low time preference and this concept of actually storing your value. We used to think, I was like, my mom told me, go to college, get a job, and you're going to make enough money and you're going to be great. It didn't work out so well for me. And I think for a lot of people, that's the case. And you end up in debt and you end up just scrambling. And we have this new solution called Bitcoin. And so I really encourage people to, read your book, Matt, read my book. It's going to be out probably early this summer is when mine's going to come out.
How can they follow that, or how can they get that info?
It's very easy to kind of stay in touch with me on X. That's the best place. If you're on X, if you're not X, you can always just Google me or look me up again with your favorite AI tool, and you'll find where I'm at. I'm very, very easy to get in touch with. But I do most of my promotion and most of my content on X these days. I will have some more content coming out on other platforms, but just type my name in somewhere. And this book is a huge project for me. It's like my 80-20. So I'm 80% focused on this book, 20% on everything else. It's a big project for me, and I hope that it adds a lot of value for people. But I do believe that we're entering this new golden age. I'm confident that we can get there. It has to be intentional, and it's a choice. I remember I said we're in this new era of choice. And so if you're listening, I'm looking at the camera now, like you have a choice, and you can choose to play in this game with Bitcoin. And there's nobody that's stopping you. So, jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's been one of the best decisions I've made. And, I definitely plan to stick around much, much longer than I've already been in the space because I know what the future may hold. I'm pretty hopeful. But with about a minute left before we have to go to break, what has you the most hopeful for the future?
My daughter. We were talking about that when we went to break. She's almost 6. And I think, you take Bitcoin and AI, this incredible new protocol level technologies that we've been gifted to the world. Satoshi gave us Bitcoin, and, AI has been a group effort over many, many years, and it's here. And man, anybody who's got a young person around them, they're so pure. I told Matt in the break, those are the only 2 pure things in the world is children and Bitcoin. So, I do everything I do for my daughter. I think in decades, 50, 100 years out, what's the world going to be like for her? And I see a world where, she's traveling to the moon. She's taking spaceships to the moon, and she's researching Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I can only imagine what the future is going to hold. Jesse, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about life after Bitcoin. All right, guys, we'll see you same time, same place. Adios.
The opinions and suggestions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants and are not necessarily endorsed by program sponsors or any station, media company, or platform broadcasting this program. This program is a product of Moore Media, LLC. The information in this broadcast is not intended as investment, tax, or financial advice. Matthew Moore is not a licensed investment advisor and speaks solely from his experience and opinions. All information in this broadcast is for entertainment or educational purposes only. Matthew Moore, Moore Media, LLC, and the company or platform broadcasting this program is not responsible for the success or failure of any person's investment decisions or purchases. Matthew Moore, Moore Media, LLC, and the company or platform broadcasting this program makes no and expressly disclaims all representations, warranties, and guarantees with respect to this broadcast and its sponsors. Investing in any market is inherently risky and can be financially dangerous. Invest at your own risk.